Hello, guys. I've spent last month searching abandoned places in Pennsylvania, but got tired a bit of long car travels. Today I decided to make a hike in central Jersey woods to discover a few abandoned houses I've never explored before. Not sure if these houses are actually deserted, but they look desolated on Google Maps. Their accessibility also raises questions. Anyway, join the adventure. It's going to be a full of surprises day of searching and exploring. After an hour hike along muddy trails and my lovely swamps, I reached the first location. It looks pretty attractive and mysterious, but I need to look around first to make sure if the house is really abandoned and nobody armed with a baseball bat waits for me here. By the way, my last hike in Tamaqua vicinity, I tried to explore some unknown ruins to the south from the town. The ruins turned out to be on private land, and I was lucky to encounter a man with shotgun before I crossed the property boundary. Well, everything is quiet. The smashed windows, yard is totally overgrown, no any suspicious signs. We can try to come in. In parallel with the exploration, I'll tell you some curious facts about history of this house I managed to figure out after the journey. Unfortunately, the house has never been officially documented and public sources don't contain any notable facts, but I found a few names in archives and church records which will help us in some way reveal the background of the house. Originally, the house was built circa 1849 by Jaques Voorhees, a descendant of the Dutch pioneers who settled this area and a well-known farmer in the township. The common ancestor and founder of Voorhees Dynasty of Long Island in New Jersey was Stephen Court, or Courten van Voorhees, emigrated with his family from the Netherlands in April 1660. In the late 1840s, a sixth-generation descendant of Stephen Court van Voorhees, Jaques Voorhees acquired 150 acres parcel in the Franklin Township to build this two-story Greek Revival farmhouse for his family. The house and farm had been in possession of the Voorhees dynasty over 100 years as the home for 7 generations of farm family. Very impressive. This abandoned property doesn't have any historical markers, and I want to name it the Voorhees House in my records. It is interesting that even in those years the Voorhees family had extensive family ties and numerous relatives used to live in the area. One more curious fact is that the fictional Voorhees family is well known among fans of Friday the 13th horror movie. I think that's a reason why this house is rumored as haunted among ghost hunters. Jaques Voorhees never married and didn't have children. At least I couldn't find any mentions about it. So, after his death, the farmstead passed to his nephew John A. Voorhees, a son of John J. Voorhees and Sarah DeMott. John made some improvements on the land, like a smokehouse and a guest house. If you don't mind, I can show them in the next video. Pretty cool samples of rural architecture. Let me know in the comments, please. I see he pretty succeed as a farmer. He married Mary Emma Garretson in 1899 and he had 2 sons, John and Clifford. I managed to find some photos taken in those years. Here you can see a little helper, John Howard Voorhees, the oldest son of John A. Voorhees, resting after gathering a wagon load of firewood. This him with his uncle John Garretson on the porch of the house. Emma Garretson, her grandson John Howard, and his father John A. Voorhees, 1906. And 2 more photos with Grandma Emma. The farm was inherited by the oldest brother John after father's death in 1919. The youngest son Clifford left the farmstead before 1940, took their mom to live in his new house in Middlesex County of New Jersey. I'm not going to tell you a lot about the Voorhees genealogy. I would take too much time and is out of today's house exploration. So, I'll be brief. The dynasty had many glorious names, like Judge Ralph Voorhees, a writer, author of our home book about history of the township, and Stephen van Voorhees, founder of a Dutch Reformed church. The house remained in the same family for over a century until 1960s. In those years, the government decided that additional water supply resource was needed for New Jersey. The area was determined as a possible location for such a site. In a process that took place over several years in the 1960s, properties were acquired by the state for the developing additional water reservoir in the central Jersey. The house was abandoned by its residents, like dozens farms in the area. Although, another source states that the Voorhees family descendants donated all the land to the town for hiking park purposes, but I'm not sure. By 1993, alternative and adequate water sources had been identified and the project was shelved, like similar project in Delaware Water Gap. No longer immediately needed, the lands and acquired properties were transferred to the Division of Parks and Forestry of New Jersey. Old papers, books, and photos I come across in abandoned houses may stand in good stead in the historical investigations. Once 2 vintage photos with notes on their back I found in one house a month ago were the first clue that helped me unearth the story of entire dynasty. That research revealed names of 7 generations that used to live in that house. Although these books hardly may be useful, they clearly didn't belong to the people who lived here. So this Greek Revival residence with outbuildings stays abandoned for last 60 years. Some musical bands were inspired by these walls. Looks like they tried to make some records here. Not bad music, by the way.
You were so mean inside my dream.
The house twice featured on CD covers. As usual, you can find all documents I used to investigate the history of this abandoned house in the description to the video. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to arrange a night exploration of this place or to camp here overnight. Although, the proximity of the road may spoil the charm of a creepy night. While I was making this video, I got tired of deleting vehicle noise from the audio tracks. However, the house is really awesome and definitely deserves at least one more trip for night exploration.